Dirty Bertie Pirate. Chapter 1. Aha! Roared Bertie, swishing his cutlass. It was Pirate Day at school, and everyone in Miss Boots' class was dressing up. Bertie has always wanted to be a pirate. He would have his own ship, the Black Bogey. It was an excellent name. He'd live a pirate's life, plundering, looting, and never washing behind his ears. He marched in through the school gates. The pirates of Class 3 stood around, armed with plastic daggers and cutlasses. Eugene had a spotty scarf knotted round his head. Darren had a gold earring and a mouthful of black teeth. Captain Bertie greeted them. "Aha, mateys!" "Aha!" they roared back. Bertie jumped onto a bench and put his telescope to his eye. "Enemy ahoy!" he cried. Over by the drinking fountain sat the weediest pirate alive, Noel Nick. Nick was Bertie's sworn enemy. Only yesterday he'd put chewing gum on Bertie's chair. Bertie had gone all around with a pink blob on his bottom, and no one ever told him. Well, now it was time for revenge. "Fire one!" Bertie ordered. A tennis ball whizzed through the air and pinged off Nick's head. Doink! "Nice shooting, lads!" cried black-eyed Bertie. "After him!" "Aha!" yelled Darren and Eugene, swarming forward like rats. "Ooh-ah! Ooh-ah!" yelped Nick, dropping his bag and legging it. But Bertie and his scurvy crew were too quick for him. In no time, they had the enemy surrounded. "Arr! Help!" wailed Nick. "I'll tell Miss Boot." Bertie's cutlass poked him on the nose. "Don't you dare! Surrender or die!" he cried. "I surrender! I surrender!" gulped Nick, raising his hands. Bertie rolled his eyes. It was no fun having a sworn enemy as cowardly as Nick. He always gave in without a fight. "What shall we do with him?" asked Eugene. "Tie him up," said Darren. "Make him do sums." "Make him eat vegetables," said Eugene. But Bertie had a way better idea. "Start talking or we'll tickle your toes," he cried. Nick turned pale. He couldn't bear anyone tickling his please. "Please not that, please not that," he begged. "All right," said Bertie, "just tell us where the treasure is." "What treasure?" "All pirates have treasure," cried Bertie. "Where did you hide it?" Wham! Suddenly the school door flew open. The children gasped as a shadow fell over them. It was Miss Boot, the scourge of Class 3. She wore a feathered hat, enormous boots, and a black patch over one eye. "Yikes!" cried Bertie. "Bertie, what are you doing?" thundered Miss Boot. "Nothing," said Bertie. "Help, miss! They're being mean to me!" wailed Nick like a crybaby. Miss Boot bore down on them like a galleon in full sail. "If this is true, Bertie, you are stopping at once," she boomed. "It was only a game, miss," squeaked Bertie. "We're playing pirates." "Enough!" bawled Miss Boot. "Line up, all of you. Not you, Bertie. Come here." She held out her hand. "I'll have that sword if you don't mind." "But, miss, it's my cutlass. It's Pirate Day," said Bertie. "No weapons in class," snapped Miss Boot. "It's plastic, not a weapon. And that goes for the rest of you." Class 3 filed past, handing in their daggers and water pistols. Miss Boot took all the weapons to put in her cupboard, where she locked them up. "Get out your books," she ordered. "You will do sums for the next half an hour. Anyone who talks will see me." Bertie groaned. He bet real pirates never did sums. Trust Miss Boot to spoil things just when they were getting interesting. Chapter 2. Noel Nick rubbed his head and glared at Bertie. Maybe he could cheat and look at Bertie's work. Maybe he should put a worm down his back. But that was no good. Bertie weren't scared of worms. In fact, the slimier, the better. Maybe he could push him in a muddy puddle, but that wouldn't work either. Bertie liked getting muddy. No, he had a cunning plan, something that Bertie would never suspect. Wait, what did Bertie babble about earlier? Pirate treasure? Nick smiled to himself slyly. If I was the treasure Bertie wanted, he would lead him right to it. All he needed was a map. He checked Miss Boot wasn't looking and tore off a sheet from his notepad. Now, where to make Bertie think the loot was buried? Somewhere forbidden, like the girls' toilets, or better still, Nick's eyes lit up. He knew the perfect place. Just wait. Bertie was going to be in so much trouble. At lunch break, Bertie and his pirate crew prowled around the playground. "Hello, Bertie," trilled a voice. Bertie swung around. Curses! It was Angela Knightley. Angela lived next door and had been in love with him forever. "Are you playing pirates?" she asked. "Can I play?" "No," said Bertie. "Play with your own friends." "They're playing mummies and daddies," grumbled Angela. "I want to be a pirate." "Well, you can't," said Bertie. "You're dressed like a pirate. And anyway, you're a girl. Girls can't be pirates," said Angela. "Wait, yes they can." "No, they can't." "Yes, they can." "No, they can't." Angela sniffed. "You can't stop me," she said. "If I want to be a pirate, then I can, so there." Bertie sighed. When he had his own ship, Angela would be the first to walk the plank. Suddenly, something whizzed through the air and bounced off his nose. Boink! Bertie looked round. Who dared throw an apple core at a pirate king? "Ha ha ha!" jeered a weirdy voice. "Can't catch me, nanny, nanny, nanny." No, Nick ducked out of sight. "After him!" yelled Bertie. The chase was on. It didn't last long because Noel Nick was slower than a grandfather tortoise. Soon he got himself trapped with no escape. "Stay back or I'll tell Miss Boots," he panted. Bertie shook his head. "Not this time. She's on duty. Feeling ticklish, Nick?" "You wouldn't," said Nick. Bertie grabbed his arm. As Nick squirmed away, something fell out of his pocket. Darren pounced on it first. "Arr! What's this?" he cried. "That's mine," said Nick. "Give it back." Bertie held it out of his hand. "Let me see." He unfolded the piece of paper. It was torn at the edges with a brown dirt. Bertie stared at it in amazement. "It's a real treasure map." They all crowded round. "Look, a skull and crossbones," said Bertie excitedly. "That means it's a pirate treasure map. And look, it's written treasure with an X." "Ha ha!" He turned to Nick. "Where did you get this?" Nick shrugged. "If you must know, I found it inside an old book." "I knew it," said Bertie excitedly. "This is probably thousands of years old." Darren stared. "You mean there's actual treasure, like gold and diamonds and stuff?" "Like gold and diamonds? Of course," said Bertie. "And I'll tell you what else. It's buried nearby. That's our school field." He pointed to the map. Bertie and his pirate crew hurried off, with Angela tagging behind. Noel Nick watched them go and smiled to himself. His brilliant plan was working perfectly. Chapter 3. "Right," said Bertie, spreading out his map. "The treasure must be buried somewhere around here." It was standing on the playground field, which Mr. Grouch prepared in the summer for cricket. "But where?" asked Eugene. "We can't dig up the whole field." "I know," cried Angela. "It's X marks the spot." "I was just about to say that," said Bertie. "It's X marks the spot. That's what pirates always say, and always where they bury their treasure." "You mean like there?" asked Eugene. Bertie looked closer at a small black X on the map. Someone had helpfully written treasure beside it, spelt wrong, but it was treasure. "That's it!" Bertie cried. "Let's start digging." "Yes, but where exactly?" asked Darren. Bertie frowned. Map reading wasn't really his strong point. He was much better at giving orders. "What about this clue?" cried Angela, pointing to some of the words scribbled on the map. Bertie read it out. "From Miss Boots' lookout, 20 paces F." "That makes no sense," said Darren. "What's Miss Boots' lookout?" They all looked blank. "Miss Boot!" cried Eugene. "She's always sits in the same place on playground duty." "The bench," said Bertie. They all hurried over. It was strange that an old pirate treasure map should mention Miss Boot, but Bertie wasn't paying attention because he was too busy reading the next part of the clue to worry about that. 20 paces F, he frowned. Maybe it's short for something, like 20 paces Friday, or 20 paces frog face, cried Angela. Forwards, yelled Eugene. It means 20 paces forwards. Bertie stood with his back to the bench and paced down the steps. 17, 18, 19, 20. He stopped. They'd reached a small square of grass which was green and freshly mown. It guarded by a sign. Keep off the grass or else. By Mr. Grouch, school caretaker. This is it, said Bertie. We dig here. The cricket pitch? Said Darren. You're joking. Mr. Grouch will murder us. I mean, literally. Mr. Grouch was very proud of his cricket pitch, which he mowed and watered every week. Anyone caught walking on the grass risked dying a horrible death. Well, that's it then, said Bertie. It's buried treasure. Yes, but what if we get caught? Said Eugene. We won't, replied Bertie. We'll fill in the holes so that Mr. Grouch will never know. Aren't you forgetting one thing? Said Darren. We haven't got a spade. Eugene jumped out and down excitedly. I know, follow me. They followed him back to the playground at the caretaker's shed. The door was open, but there was no one around. To create a problem, at least. Mr. Grouch, he was round the other side, though, in his deck chair. Angela tiptoed fearlessly inside. A moment later, she handed 3 spades out of the window. What about Grouch? Asked Eugene as they hurried away. What if he wakes up and notices the tools are gone? Don't worry, said Bertie. Someone can keep lookout from the bench. They took a vote and elected Angela, who only agreed if she was allowed to hold the treasure map. If you see Grouch coming, then whistle, Bertie told her. Okay, I'll try, but I'm not very good at whistling. Yeah. They began to dig. It was harder work than Bertie had expected. After 10 minutes, they'd only grind a tiny little hole, and they were hot and sweaty. I'm tired, grumbled Eugene. My arms ache, moaned Darren. Keep going, panted Bertie. It's got to be here somewhere. The digging went on. The hole got deeper and deeper. The pile of earth grew bigger and bigger. Clunk, Bertie stopped. His spade had stuck something hard. I found it, he yelled. Quick, help me pull it out. They scrambled in the mud. There was something smooth, heavy, exactly like a treasure chest. This is it, thought Bertie, tugging at it. He'd be rich beyond the wildest dreams. Gold, diamonds, rubies. He could buy anything he wanted. A robot, a swimming pool, a year's supply of ice cream. Oof! They heaved the heavy lump clear. Bertie stared. In front of him was a dirty great rock. He flopped down on the ground, exhausted. What's the matter, Bertie? Jeered a reedy voice. Didn't you find any treasure? Noel Nick stood over him, wearing a sickly smile of triumph. I don't understand, moaned Bertie. The map said to dig right here. I know, sniggered Bertie. This has to be the place. X marks the spot, said Bertie. Oh, it's the right place, all right, grinned Nick. I should know. Bertie stared slowly. The horrible truth dawned on him. He'd be tricked. There was no treasure. The map was nothing but a rotten fake. That sneaky creep Nick had dreamed up the whole thing. Just then Angela nicely came running out of bed. She tried to whistle. Go away, snapped Nick. We're busy. But listen, panted Angela. It was you, shouted Bertie, glaring at Nick. Of course it was me, smirked Nick. I drew the map and made sure you'd find it. You're that stupid. I knew you'd find it, and also I knew you'd take it. But why? Said Bertie. So you'd get the blame, of course, said Nick. Wait until Mr. Grouch sees his precious cricket pitch. You are so dead. But it's not my fault, argued Bertie. I know, gloated Nick, but face it. No one's ever going to believe you." "Oh, really?" growled a deep voice. No, Nick spun around. He turned as white as a sheet. Mr. Grouch was standing right behind him, purple with fury. "I tried to tell you," whispered Angela. Mr. Grouch looked at the hole, then at Nick. "So this was your clever idea, was it, eh? Well, let's see what Miss Boot has to say about that." But it wasn't me. Bertie dug the hole," stammered Nick. Mr. Grouch scowled at Bertie and his friends. "As you lot, I want this hole filled when I get back." He frog-marched Nick away, still wailing that he was innocent. Bertie waited until they got and let out a long breath. "Ah, poor Nick," said Angela. "Yes, poor old Nick," Bertie nodded. They were having a party. He looked at his pirate crew and broke into a grin. "Arr!" they cried.